Avnish, would love to hear your, from your perspective. First, I would request you to share a little bit about your business with the audience, and then, on the conversation that the panel has had so far, your views on store locations, how you think about it, any learnings that you would like to share.
So I'm more on the controversial side of the apparel business. So we deal with a lot of women ethnic wear, and we deal in a lot of occasion wear. So when it comes to weddings, I think everybody has spoken much about the size of the stores, location of the stores. But when you talk about ethnic wear, especially for women category, we are very limited to the locations that we have. So every city has its own. Probably everybody sitting here has a family member who's used to going to that one street in that particular state or a city and going shopping for ethnic wear, because your mom or your wife or somebody in the family has been going there for ages, and you kind of have a trust on that, because you're eventually buying ethnic wear is also emotionally driven. But parallelly, to come point by point, I think in expansion spree, how Manish said, for store rollouts, I think we go for a thing called speed for process. But I think technically, speed for process, I think for a lot of people has not been the key, because eventually it is the other way around. If you have the right process, then speed comes to you when you're expanding your brand. So likewise with Neeru's, when we started expanding, in fact, we were one of the first organized women ethnic wear brand in the country, where we do all kind of formats, from high streets to malls to LFS, working with a lot of shop-and-shop brands, organized retailers. So we are almost there with about 52 EBO stores and about 140 point of sales with the LFS formats. And we sell everything from a 500 rupee kurti to a 5 lakh rupee lehenga. Technically sounding that it's impossible, but we have stores ranging from, say, 1,000 square foot store to a 30,000 square foot store. So we have a flagship store in Hyderabad, which is probably a 30,000 square feet store. On a flip side, we also have a store in Santa Cruz on SV Road, which is just about 1,000 square feet. And the kind of average bill value that we do there is about 25,000. And what we do with malls, with the large format stores, is 1,200. So we are working across categories and trying to cater everything under the portfolio of ethnic wear. But I think post-COVID, a lot of changes happened in the scenario where women started liking experience. So the stores had to be bigger. The stores had to talk the language of today. They were digitally very inclined. Every day you wake up, I think probably see a lot of influencers digitally, let it be Instagram, Facebook, or any other media that is available. So everybody wants to look like that Deepika or Alia Bhatt on that Friday morning picture that releases, and everybody is accustomed to looking at those influencers who are telling you to wear what's the trend of today. So to keep up with the whole logic, so we had to undergo a lot of shift. So we kind of resized our stores. Of course, there was a lot of shutting down of stores, opening stores against that. But the major trick was to resize the stores, come up with more 3,000-4,000, from a 2,000-3,000 to a 5,000 to 8,000 square foot store, which gives a good facade. Probably, I think in the last 1 year, we've changed facade of almost 25 stores, which look similar, which give a very today's relatability, which stand out, like your first point, which stands out in the clutter. So the first thing that you do is the facade. That is your business card. That's the first thing that you do for retail. If it's location, then the fourth point always is the elevation. You have a small store, big store, doesn't matter. You have to have the right facade. In fact, a couple of months ago, we opened a store in a small town in Andhra, in Rajahmundry, and we were quite lucky to have a 90 feet facade for a 5,000 square foot store. So that was humongous. And then we came down to a BD team. Everybody says, I think we should give 20 feet to some other brand and just enjoy 70 and sublease and try to, lower our rental burden over it. But somehow I was not in the notion to do that. I would have enjoyed it. Looked like a single screen cinema from outside, but we had to go by the rules, as professionally driven decisions at times work well with you, and that is probably our best store for rent to sales. But the best store with the facade, and it's not in Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, or anywhere. It's actually in Rajahmundry. So I feel good that the store of 90 feet, and we are sharing it, one of the like-minded Tata complementing brands, and it worked out well. And on the contrary, in a mall in Hyderabad, surprisingly, 5 years ago, nobody was talking about it. I was just sharing the story with someone outside, and where we were doing around 20 lakh a
month from a 6,000 square feet. Suddenly we are doing a 1 crore 20 lakh per month from the same store. And it was not left side, right side, up or down. It was just that the mall clicked suddenly in Hyderabad, and it's become the talk of the country that everybody wants to be in that mall. And I remember sitting with the promoter of the mall, very humble person from Hyderabad, and he was saying that, Avnish, I'm going to spend on your capex. You can't exit my mall or resize, because 5 years ago I told him that I think chota store karna chahiye, ye bahut bada ho raha hai. So he said, no way you're going out, because you're from Hyderabad and you better have a big store here, and I'm going to spend on capex. And trust me, he actually did that. And today we were on revenue share for that, and today is enjoying more rentals because the revenue has gone 5x. So it's one of the stories that how retail is so diverse. And I'm not from the background of Western wear or something where, apparel in ethnic, everybody likes to be at a particular street like Santa Cruz in Bombay, Commercial Street in Bangalore, maybe a Karol Bagh in Delhi, or a South X, or so everywhere, the MG Road in one of the cities. So it's all so diverse, and everybody is used to going to those streets. But for us, I think 4 things is just basic. I think we've spoken so much, but 4 simple things to actually look out for a store is: first is the street, second is the size, third is the space, and fourth is sustain. So when you talk about street, which street? Is it a future street that is going to develop in a couple of years, or is it a matured street today that you're paying a heavy rental for? Second is about size. Whether I want to do 1,000, 5,000 or 10,000 square feet depends where your nearest next door is and how your product category you want to diversify. Third, it's about the space, the layouting of your store. If you have the right layout, I'm going to make use of every penny inside the square feet of that particular location. I think you'll do wonders if your layouting is well thought of and your high revenue churning product category is given the right space in the right way, if you work out well with your design architects. And the last and the most important is sustain. So when I said speed for process for expansion, we often forget sustaining. So sustain becomes a bigger part, because the 4th S is the first S for me, because you don't have to see if you're getting into a rental agreement for 9 years, 12 years, 15 years, 21 years. So you have to, it's like a marriage for that next 9 years. You can't say midway after the lock-in, I'm going to get away. If your BD team, yourself, everybody is so strong in your survey of the vicinity that you can sustain for a longer time. Don't think that my interiors are nut, bolt, screw, I can shift anytime, I can exit the street anytime. That's what the mistake we oftenly make. And we tell our design architects that make an interior where if I want to finish my lock-in and move, I can do it quickly. So it's on the first day of marriage, you're telling your wife, chalega to theek hai, nahi chalega to dekh lenge. Ek aadh saal baad, tata bye. So that's the kind of thought process. So how Mr. Kamal said that we are still very desi in the thought process, although our category is also desi, but then that is the actual way of looking at. So retail operations has different 4S when we talk about stock, sales, service and everything, but the real 4S is this for a business development point of view.
This was very interesting.
I was just again joking. I said I love the analogy he drew. बीवी को पहले दिन बोल देंगे चलेगा तो ठीक है.
I mean, I can take this conversation, but yeah, I think we can keep going for a long time. This is very, very interesting, very insightful, and at the highest level, I'm taking away a few things. Yeah, very widely varying and very useful perspectives from everyone in this panel. And I think there are some common learnings that I think, definitely I'm going to use, but I'm sure was useful for the audience as well. But what's also clear is that depending upon the format, the category, the